Many reports are revealing YNW Melly has a high chance of winning his court case due to 3 reasons. Here's what you need to know. According to online lawyers, the feds are not able to locate the firearm that was used in this crime. As it was reported, YNW Melly's reaction when a firearm expert tells the judge he didn't bring the item because he has no idea what item was used for this crime, where you can even see YNW Melly smirking when it was announced in court.
Why not?
So the first thing is I didn't have a firearm, so I can't know which firearm I'm going to use in order to replicate any of my tests. So I can't make tests for this determination because I don't know what firearm was used.
Okay. Do you have a...
However, the major win for YNW Melly comes with the prosecution witnesses that make YNW Melly look innocent, even though their jobs are to make him look guilty, starting with Danny Polo, who is an undercover street team member who originally wore a shiesty mask to hide his identity. He initially stated this about YNW Melly.
And they would quickly get checked. That happened to those 2 kids, or I don't know how old they are, those two guys that were claiming money, the Island Boys, with the fun haircut.
Okay.
Yeah, they were claiming to be members of, which is a set of, and they quickly got checked by almost every that could find them on social media. They got framed, and they then had to recant and apologize.
Did you find any evidence whatsoever of any recanting or apologizing by Mr. Devins in the records that you reviewed?
There's no recanting, there's no apologizing, there's no one calling out Mr. Devins for being a fake.
Then, on the second day of the undercover detective appearing in the courtroom, the judge ruled that he had to remove his mask for the remainder of his testimony, as while he was revealing his true identity, YNW Melly began giving some very weird faces in the courtroom, almost as if he knew exactly who Danny Polo was in the street.
Yes, sir. You can take off your mask.
Yes, sir.
Over. State's objection, Your Honor, based on the previous issues.
Jury entering.
During his testimony, Danny Polo makes YNW Melly look innocent after he admits Melly stopped responding to text messages from street team leaders who were all trying to recruit YNW Melly.
Now, Melly's defense is now entering into cross-examination of Danny Polo. And what Danny is admitting on the stand, now Danny Polo had admitted that YNW Melly was actually being recruited by 2 different sets. And based off of the text message thread between the different individuals trying to recruit Melly, Melly was not replying. Melly stated weeks later that he was so busy doing radio interviews and shows that he just didn't have time to reply. And if you go back and read the text messages, those recruiters were basically begging Melly to reply back. And he didn't. Because Melly was an up-and-coming rapper who had a ton of money and ambition, and any of these different groups would love to have him under their roster. Because Melly wasn't interested in being a he was being labeled as somebody who was false flagging. It's possible that it was Shine that did the drive, all because Melly didn't want to be a part of their group.
This would be the same for another 2 experts that were called to the stand by the prosecution. Even though the prosecutor hoped the experts would speak things to show YNW Melly's guilt, they all in the end ended up doing the opposite, as an FBI agent was the first to take the stand, as he specializes in cell phone data research. One of YNW Melly's lawyers would ask him a question about the location of the cell phone at the time of the crime, making it look very questionable if the phone was even close to the crime scene when it happened.
Based on the information, you can't really tell the court precisely which locations these phones are following, can you?
One of the limitations of cellular analysis is that you can only say a general area where the device would be at a given time.
All right. So even with the general analysis, all of the stuff that we've gone through for about 4 or 5 hours, at the end of the day, you can never give an exact location.
True.
And could you tell if somebody was walking around a car with the phone? Would you be able to tell that?
No.
So it'd be your testimony that this phone, 9807, could be from here to here, correct?
Yes.
And what was the distance?
Then we would see a DNA specialist called to the stand to speak on all of the DNA that was found on items inside of the car on the night of Sack Chaser and Juvie's passing. However, this would then be reported. DNA analyst confirms YNW Melly's DNA was not found on multiple items that were recovered at the crime scene.
So going to item number 22. The swab from the Gucci sandals. We're able to compare the profile from Mr. Devins as opposed to the profile developed from those sandals.
I did, and he was excluded.
The stain on the front of the t-shirt, item number 23. We're able to compare Mr. Devins' profile to that.
I did a comparison, and he was again excluded.
What about item number 24, the cutting of the stain of the rear of the t-shirt?
After comparisons were done, he was excluded.
Okay, then on item number 25, the swab of stain from the Air Jordans.
Again, an exclusion.
Going on to item number 26, the swab from the yellow jacket.
An exclusion as well.
And in terms of the item number 27 and 28, the swabs at the Gatorade bottles. What were the results on that?
Those were both exclusions.
As he mentioned, the only spot in court that YNW Melly's DNA was found on was the car door handle, which is obvious as we watched him get into the car on camera footage outside of the recording studio.
Excuse me, you're able to see? Yes, all right.
One of the ways YNW Melly could be instantly recognized as innocent is if Melly's lawyers can prove that YNW Melly was never into the car during the incident, as we would see the prosecutors give YNW Melly's lawyers practically a golden ticket to his innocence, as they would go on to say this during day one of the trial.
And Chris Thomas are. So what you're also going to find out is while Mr. Devins is out there on the side of the road, 4 in the morning, 4:42 specifically, he sends a drop pin, digital homing beacon, to his current location, to one of his friends, Frederick Givens. Frederick Givens is also involved in the music industry, and he asked to be picked up. Frederick Givens, then about 11 minutes later, is sent another drop pin, where Mr. Devins has moved a couple of meters. What you're going to find out as well, though, is these digital leashes, they have more than just phone calls.
The prosecution just revealed YNW Melly was picked up by rapper Fredo Bang sometime throughout the night. All Melly's lawyers now need to prove is that Melly left with Fredo before the crime happened. That could now get his name cleared. The DNA specialist already admitted YNW Melly's DNA was not found anywhere inside of the car, as well as the cell phone data researcher announcing that Melly's phone could have been gone outside of the car before the crime occurred. After the testimonies of both FBI agent and DNA analyst, YNW Melly was in great spirits, as we would see him share a laugh with his lawyers after this news.
Thank you. We're requesting the jury step down. Counsel remain. All with the defendant and witness. Yes, counsel, I'm sorry. I just figured it was easier if we just let the jury go.
Understood.
Makes sense. Your Honor, may we have this discussion just in case there needs to be some supplementation testimony outside the presence of the
Sure.
As if that wasn't good enough news for YNW Melly, another witness would also fall through for the prosecutors. This would be YNW Melly's ex-girlfriend's mother. As it was reported, YNW Melly's ex-girlfriend's mother is a prosecution witness, but it looks as if she doesn't even want to be there testifying for the state.
I do remember that they kind of me and my daughter and take her to jail for accessory. I do remember that.
Yes. And in terms of the statements that you made about what happened.
Yeah.
You don't have any recollection of that. Did you read this statement multiple times?
I looked at it and I just didn't recall it, and I don't know.
And so you indicated you hoped you were truthful with law enforcement.
Yes, I did.
I have to ask you to be more definitive. Were you truthful?
I don't remember what I said to them that day, so if I was to tell you something now, I could be lying. I don't want to lie on the stand because you're going to take me to jail. So I'm saying what you want me to say.
I do not want you to say anything. I want you to tell the truth.
Okay, that's what I'm doing.
With all of the constant updates and developments in the YNW Melly case happening, it is really even taking a toll on Melly's mom, as she's spoken out online to reveal that she has been dealing with a lot of stress ever since the trial began. This is when we would see YNW Melly trying to comfort her inside of the courtroom.
Sorry.
Not only is YNW Melly trying to keep his mom in good spirits, but he also continued to seem like himself was in great spirits as well, as we would see him smiling lots of times throughout the trial. Melly's even been praying during his time inside of the courtroom as well. As even one of the weirdest clips of all, we would see YNW Melly not only yawning, looking like he's tired, but also doing strange actions in court as well. As online lawyers would reveal, YNW Melly's strong and confident behavior inside of the courtroom practically means that his lawyers know they're in a great position. As we've even seen YNW Melly's music manager say that Melly has strong defenses.
He built a real great solid team away from just being innocent, because he wouldn't do such a crime. He prepared himself and got a proper, defense. Their job is to handle themselves in trial, not on social media. You guys are taking it that way. If they say they got DNA in a car, I'm just gonna tell you, Melly DNA was found in the car. You're gonna think, yeah, his DNA was found in the car the day of the. Oh, he jumped in a car and his DNA was in the car. He did it, okay? But you're not gonna put the fact that this was his car for 6-7 months on those documents and dockets and just automatically be like, yo, he's fried. You don't even know what the defense is. You don't even know what the rebuttal is. You don't even know why that situation occurred. You hear ballistics flying, you don't know what the defense is. You hear this, you hear that. You get what I'm saying?
I'm gonna be honest.
As one of the great defenses on Melly's side as well is the prosecution fumbling some of their evidence by not providing it to the courtroom during the discovery period, as we've even heard from the rap lawyer himself.
YNW Melly trial, more missteps from the prosecution. This time, the judge issuing a sanction. The sanction is the prosecution is not going to be allowed to use certain evidence. The reason? The prosecution failed to turn the evidence over in a timely manner. The defense had accused them of trying to plug up holes. You're going to see the footage from the judge where the judge says, look, this is not the right way to do it. Ultimately, I don't know if this is a huge part of their case, this evidence that's being excluded, but it speaks to the issue that the defense attorney was talking about, is this is a case. If you've got your evidence, go ahead and present it. The way the evidence is coming out, there's just too many missteps, too many technical mishaps.
The main evidence that is no longer allowed to be used is a video clip from YNW Melly's mother, where she seems to be on terrible terms with YNW's sack chaser, which could have been another motive for Melly to allegedly do this crime.
Show me text messages from sack chaser, all her friends, and all these people, like he's about this life. But I'm sitting here like, who you ever out at? What you ever did? You couldn't even take charge. If you don't sit your down and don't ever come for me, because my credentials is real. It ain't even a joke. So don't ever try to come for me, because I don't even play them type of games. Like, what you got that I ain't got? Oh, you your little. I got big. On the end of the day, Melly is my child.
However, do these positives outweigh the negatives that are against Melly? You tell me. YNW Bortland would enter the courtroom, getting a trial date for himself, but also maybe in the start of getting a plea deal against YNW Melly.
Portland Henry,
Yes, sir, he's present.
that you in the back of
Status
the
conference.
Come on up.
And I guess you're already trial code is right now. We're set for October 3rd for trial.
You had a motion pending as well?
Yes, Judge. At the court, when we were here the last time, you let him go to church and stuff, you said about working, you would be subject to seeing his schedule. We filed a schedule for the next couple of months.
I saw that.
Be able to work. And I talked to his probation supervisor. She has no problem with him at all. She said that if he's going to go to work, she'd like anybody has to do, provide an itinerary, where he's going to be, how he's going to get there, how it's going to get done.
As it was announced, YNW Bortland, YNW Melly's co-defendant, trial for the case will begin October 2nd. As during a small court hearing, the trial date was set, but also a few questions that have been answered that we've been waiting for, which could relate to the feds knowing Melly was the guilty one all along, and even YNW Bortland potentially getting a plea deal out of the case. With the first question of, why did YNW Bortland get bond out of jail, but not Melly?
And he was able to negotiate a bond for him because of the charges that he was charged with, because they felt that he wasn't the man, and because of his prior criminal history, which I think was very sparse. So all those things went into whether or not he was going to be given a bond. I think at the time that the bond was being argued, there was the evidence that was being presented at his bond hearing was very difficult to kind of gel together in terms of, as you've seen during the trial, right? So there's a lot of things that are going on in the trial that you're like, wait a minute, this doesn't really gel. Some things are out of whack. And that's what happens at an Arthur hearing when you're moving for bond on this type of charge.
Revealing that the feds most likely believed from the beginning that YNW Melly was the guilty one. Mix that in with Bortland not having a legal history, that's how Bortland received bond. However, the next question is where things get interesting.
Is it too late for Cortland to plea?
It's like the Justin Bieber song, it's never too late to say sorry, I think. No, I don't think it's too late. It's never too late. I've had individuals been offered pleas but turned them down in the middle of trial. I've had people offered pleas before a verdict came back. So it just depends on the case, depends on the prosecutor, depends on the actual charges. So no, it's never too late for that. He could take a plea in the middle of his case. I don't think that would happen. If he was going to take a plea, if there was going to be a deal, it would be in the middle of Melly's case.
Many online lawyers are stating that Bortland taking a plea deal is very likely, not only due to Melly's lawyers practically snitching on Bortland themselves, but also this evidence that I'm about to share pretty much proves that YNW Bortland was in the vehicle. As it started with a report of, forensic expert in the YNW Melly case determines how it was not a drive-by.
Assignment, which is to determine if this is a drive. And my determination was that this is not a drive-by, and it's based upon this picture here, which is a very good picture to describe it. All of these rounds are done. One is done at a stationary position. The at a stationary position when all but one of these rounds are going in. The one round that has some movement in it, which is round site L here, the actually moving in that to create the little bit of a that you see there.
Okay, a lot of information in that answer, so let's break it down a little bit. You mentioned a So I'm gonna zoom in on site F.
His name is Sergeant Williams. He's a 20-year veteran in his field and highly respected. The next report that he would share is concerning, which starts with, YNW Melly is accused to be the one using the firearm in this situation. Sergeant Williams, who said there was an item used 3 times inside of the Jeep, including 17 times outside.
Number, you said 17 outside the car. How many rounds were inside the car?
3.
And can you exclude the for Mr. Williams and Mr. Thomas as coming from outside of the car?
Yes. From the driver's side back seat.
As to the shot that killed Christopher Thomas, where did that emanate from?
Driver's side back seat.
Okay. Is it possible for there to have been 2 inside that car?
No.
Why not?
There is no time.
As we would even then see the rap lawyer speak on all of this new evidence.
You see what the experts are doing for the prosecution, and what's interesting to me is what the defense is doing when they cross-examine these experts, which is they're essentially highlighting the prosecution's opinion. Rather than try to pick apart holes and say, what about this, what about that? They're saying, oh, this is what you're saying, right? That's a fact? Okay, and they're knocking them down. And they're pinning them down, and they're saying, okay, I'm gonna hold you to this. This is your opinion. You think you know for a fact that came after this person was bet. You think you know for a fact that these came from not a drive-by because of the trajectory, and I know bet. And so what you're gonna see, what I assume, because what is the defense doing? Well, I assume they have experts who they believe are a lot more credible, who have testified a lot more times in cases, who have a lot more research and credibility based on their experience and history in the field. And those experts are going to come on and take the stand, and those experts are going to poke the holes and say, you can't possibly know when this in relation to that. You can't possibly know how. We'll see. But that's what seems like it's setting up for the defense's experts to come.
However, here's where the conversation gets concerning. It's clear this expert is sharing unbelievable information, showing that YNW Melly could have potentially done this crime. However, when it was time for YNW Melly's lawyers to ask Sergeant Williams questions, this is where Melly's lawyers begin to speak on Bortland again, as this was Melly's lawyer's first question to Sergeant Williams.
And you are aware that the person that claimed it was a drug is Cortland Henry?
I believe so. I don't know who said that it was a drive-by. I was just asked to say if it was a drive-by.
Okay. And you are aware that when Cortland Henry made this statement that this gentleman was nowhere around, right?
I wasn't part of the initial investigation, okay. So I don't know if that was included in Miramar's investigation with that.
Okay, but what you are saying is whoever claimed was lying.
Was incorrect.
YNW Melly's lawyers once again making it very public to the jury that Bortland lied to the feds and lied about what happened, as this isn't the first time YNW Melly's lawyers are practically snitching on Bortland either. As another report would share, YNW Bortland had powder residue on his hands and a change of clothing when he dropped off Sack Chaser and Juvie to the hospital. YNW Bortland and Melly were the only 2 men in the vehicle with them, including a video of Melly's lawyer revealing that.
Lies, those were his lies. Cortland Henry shows up at Memorial Hospital, Miramar. You don't see him sitting there, but where you will see him sitting is in the driver's seat of a car with 2 bodies, a car riddled with bullets. And when he shows up with a change of clothing, change of shirt, powder residue on his hands, evidencing that he had discharged a firearm. And he lies. He lies about where the incident occurred. He lies about how it occurred. And he lies about not having a phone. I think it was Miss Bradley herself who said everybody has a phone in his pocket, not Cortland Henry. There were 3 phones.
He revealed to the jury that Bortland lied to the feds when they were asking him what happened, as well as revealing the interview of Bortland lying.
And I'm driving, ducking for my life, trying to make sure I don't get hit. And you telling me, you telling me about shit. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to make sure I don't get hit. I'm driving. I'm trying to make sure I don't get hit. You know what I'm saying? What I'm gonna be worried about? You know what I'm saying?
I know it's not for you to worry about.
Shit crazy, bro.
But if you tell me it happened there's got to be some evidence there. There's going to be broken glass, just like there's broken glass over here from when you guys opened the doors and stuff like that. Okay, there's going to be broken glass over there when the windows got out. There's going to be casings from the people at your car. Okay, there's going to be evidence over there. Okay, right now there's nothing. I kind of think I know what happened because I got information